He has one ability I don't have.
Yeah.
He sleeps. He has an ability to fall asleep while on camera. He can lie down on one of those things, and in minutes, he's stone cold out.
How does he do
And he's
it?
got cameras
How
on
does
because
he
he's the
do it?
president, so they have cameras on him.
Yeah.
And then they show him sleeping on the beach.
Yeah.
You'll never see me sleeping in front of camera.
Donald Trump was seen falling asleep again in the White House today during a very important meeting on the Iran war. Just take a look.
Commander, IRGC's Navy commander was killed.
Your observations on Donald Trump today?
Sleeping. Again,
Sleeping.
You know, they have tried a number of different devices to keep Trump awake, partially in response, or what appears to be in response to collective press corps observations. So, for example, when there are sidebars, an attorney doesn't leave his side anymore because leaving him alone means leaving him to potentially sleep. He has a stack of papers with him at all times now to go through. But neither of those things seem to have protected Trump from his own exhaustion today. More than not, when I looked up to see how Trump was receiving the testimony, Trump was not receiving it at all.
There we have conflicting issues, but let's look at also yesterday in the Oval. If you think about a president of the United States making major decisions about bombs, about military provocations, about ceasefires, let's just do a little check-in on this Oval Office appearance in its entirety. Play the clip.
Work on negotiating international trade agreements. 59
Here
days
we
after
have,
he stood in this office, and President
he's
Trump
pretty much hitting
with Albert
REM here. I mean, we're pretty much hitting REM sleep here. Oh, wakes up just a little bit, and he's right back to sleep again. And this is a man who was nonstop, sleepy Joe Biden. And then Fox News, look, he wakes up. Look at him. He looks drunk. And then he's wakes up, and then he just nods right back off again. So if he is doing this, in front of the cameras, in front of the White House press corps, in the Oval Office, one of the biggest stages in the world.
Okay, Donald, it's time for nighttime reading.
Oh, but I don't want to do that.
Well, it's time for bed, and we're just going to do a quick book tonight.
I want to take my time. We have plenty of time.
We will take our time, Donald, but you know you're going to be out like a light in a minute.
I don't want to put that kind of a timetable on it, but it'll go pretty quickly.
Well, the book tonight is 10 minutes till bedtime.
I hate it, you know?
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Donald. Let's start, okay? 10 minutes till bedtime.
I'll finish it up.
Donald, we just started, okay? 9 minutes till bedtime.
Very different number than anyone thought.
If we're counting down from 10, what number comes after 9? 8. 8 minutes till bedtime.
I'm pretty good at this.
You are great with numbers. Okay, no more talking. Listen up. 7 minutes till bedtime. 6 minutes till bedtime. 5 minutes till bedtime. 4 minutes till bedtime. 3 minutes till bedtime. 2 minutes till bedtime. 1 minute till bedtime. And it's bedtime. Oh, sleepy little guy. Works every time. He looks so evil when he sleeps.
Supreme Leader Trump fell asleep multiple times during his meeting today. Here's some videos. Too bad the clapping woke him up. Here's another video from today.
Successful implementation of the second phase of the Gaza peace plan.
Did you see that? My man was dead asleep, didn't have a care in the world, sleeping like a baby in front of the world stage, cameras everywhere, dignitaries, leaders everywhere. He doesn't give a shit. He's just like, I'm going to take a nap. Here's a third video.
Experts preparing the infrastructure for the ISF.
He's fighting it.
This team's already operating from a combined joint operations center. That's going to be the headquarters for the entire ISF.
Can someone give my man a cup of coffee? Or a Red Bull, or a Celsius, or a Monster, or a Coca-Cola? Something. Give him some drugs, a caffeine pill, so my man can stay awake and not embarrass himself on camera weekly. I predicted this the last 3 times. Next week is going to be treatment week on Trump's hands. Whatever's ailing him, whatever disease he has that they're not telling us about, his treatment should be scheduled for next week. So look for bruising on Trump's hands at some point next week. I predicted it 3 times in a row now. Let's see if I can make it a 4th next week. There's been some content creators out there who are predicting that Dictator Trump will not do the State of the Union next week. They are saying that they'll find some excuse to cancel it, or he'll do a video of it, or they'll do an AI video of it, but he will not do it live. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he really is going to do it. I think his narcissism is too much where he just has to do it and he wants to do it. However, if you thought his last State of the Unions in the past were crazy, wait till you see Sundowning Donnie, because 9 p.m. is when a lot of people with dementia are in full sundown mode. And if you've noticed, you rarely see him on camera past 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon anymore. I think he's going to do it, but I think it's going to be batshit crazy. Okay, here's one more video of Trump falling asleep. See you tomorrow.
Successful implementation
He's fucking out.
of the second
He's
phase
sleeping
of
like
the
a
Gaza
baby.
peace plan.
It's time for another episode of America's favorite game show. Did Dictator Trump fall asleep on camera yesterday?
And I just want to thank President Trump for championing this program, because I can tell you, some of the Republican, some of the more traditional Republican.
If your guess was yes, you won. He falls asleep at least once a week on camera. He's sundowning. He can't stay awake during the day. He's up all night. He's not making sense with his words, ladies and gentlemen. He has cognitive decline. Multiple doctors are saying it. He refuses to release his medical records. We, the American people, deserve to know what is wrong with him and if he is fit enough to lead the country. He's not fit enough to lead the country, but we at least deserve to see the paperwork that says he's not fit enough to lead the country.
Some are saying the guy is sick, he has dementia. Some are saying the guy doesn't rest, yet he's an old man. He's almost 80 years. Do you think Donald will keep behaving like this and shaming us on the international, on the global world? Because they used to respect America, but because of this gentleman, now the international community no longer have respect for the America.
Donald Trump was caught falling asleep again on camera today in the middle of a meeting in the Oval Office. Just watch. It's incredibly embarrassing.
We continue our work on negotiating international trade agreements. 59 days after we stood in this office and President Trump, standing with Albert Bourla from Pfizer, announced the first of the 17 MFN deals, together with our colleagues from the Department of Commerce under Secretary Letnick's leadership and from the U.S. Trade Representative's office under the leadership of Ambassador Greer, we negotiated a landmark agreement with the government of the United Kingdom in which they agreed to increase significantly the amount that they spend on branded pharmaceuticals for the first time in 26 years.
He's out.
That work continues with
He's
other
done.
countries.
Done.
And third,
I mean, how humiliating for the United States. He's asleep, and then he jolts awake, looks around, and then hits the hay once again. He's not fighting for the American people. He's fighting to keep his eyes open. I will never get over the fact that for 4 years straight, Republicans insulted Biden over his mental capacity, saying he couldn't do the job, and yet their guy is falling asleep in front of the American people every day, and they're silent.
I can see a lot of people being offended by Trump. Trump's not perfect.
He's not perfect. He's just literally breaking the very first commandment.
I don't think Trump thinks he's Jesus or anything like that. I think he posted it thinking it was a beautiful picture.
Turns out Trump also denied the Jesus comparison.
It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor.
He posted it because he thought he looked like a doctor.
I see a healer. He's here to heal the sick. He's beautiful. He looks like a doctor. Look at, he's got his magic. He's got his magic hand.
Do doctors traditionally have magic hands?
Well, to you and I, they do. Do you know how to carve somebody up in the stomach and cure whatever, if they have like an intestinal ailment? Can you do that?
I'm poor with the scalpel. You're correct. Fair enough. Point MAGA. But Trump's brush with organized religion didn't end there.
POTUS versus the Pope.
I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo.
Blasting Leo for opposing America's war in Iran.
Pope needs to stay religion. Keep politics out.
Pope should stay out of politics.
I believe so, yeah.
Should politics stay out of religion?
Yeah.
Should there be the 10 Commandments in schools?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There should be Pledge of Allegiance in school. There should be
prayer.
There should be prayer.
But going back to that whole thing about Pope, stay away from politics.
Yes.
Politics, stay away from religion.
Yes.
10 Commandments, put it in school.
Yes.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Yes, I know what you're saying.
Okay,
I know what you're saying.
I
know what you're saying.
It makes me feel crazy.
He's still alive. It didn't happen. Today was supposed to be the day, but it might not be that far off after all. This was him.
We continue our work on negotiating international trade agreements. 59 days after we stood in this office and President Trump.
He fell asleep during a press conference. That was from today in the Oval Office, a press conference on affordability, but he closed it after a nap by slurring his words.
No transgender mutilization of our children. So that's it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, that's not a word, and he kind of slurred and was breathless for most of the press conference. And apparently, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio were seen jogging into the West Wing shortly after that press conference. I don't know what it takes to get J.D. Vance and Marco to both be jogging, but fingers crossed. In all seriousness, he's not well. He is not well at all. If that were Joe Biden, they would be calling for him to resign immediately, and you know it. You absolutely know it.
Something is off. Did you guys see this? So Donald Trump was in the middle of a conference, and watch this. He starts dozing off on camera. He's literally about to fall asleep. I think he is asleep. And you guys want to know my honest opinion on this? Most of the world is asleep right now. Most of the world is sleeping just like Donald Trump in that video. Most of the world is spiritually asleep. And to be completely honest, most Christians are asleep nowadays. Even Jesus said in Revelation, wake up. And that was Jesus talking to a church, not the world, not to atheists, but to the church. And most Christians are completely sleeping right now. They're not in their word. They're in their feelings. They're not spiritually fed. They're emotionally led. They're in the world more than they're in the word. And that's so dangerous because, man, the most dangerous thing a Christian can do is not read the Bible, because you're either letting the world fill your mind or you're letting the word fill your mind. And the world is going to fill your mind with fear, anxiety, worry, lies, temptation. But the word is going to fill your mind with truth. And the more truth you fill your mind with, the less room the devil has to fill your mind with lies. The devil's not afraid of a sleeping Christian. He's not afraid of a Christian who goes to church on Sunday, who reads the verse of the day, who posts a Bible verse every now and then. But the devil is terrified of a Christian who is awake. That's why the Bible says, stay alert. Watch out for the enemy, because he's prowling around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And I'm here to tell you today that we are in the last second of the last days. Everything Jesus said would happen is happening in front of our eyes, and it's time to wake up. It's time to go all in. Jesus said we wouldn't know the day or the hour he comes back, but he did say we would know the season. And if you couldn't tell, we're in the season. It's kind of like a storm. You can feel the wind, you can hear the thunder, you can see the clouds, you can see the rain, but you're not going to know the exact second that the lightning strikes. And it's the same thing with Jesus' return. We can see the signs, the wars and rumors of wars, the natural disasters, the deception, the division, but we just don't know the exact second that that sky is going to crack open, the trumpets are going to start playing, and Jesus comes back. And everybody's gangster until Jesus comes back. That's all I'm saying. Wake up. It's time to get right with God, or you're going to get left. And if it sounds like I'm being hateful, that's because the truth sounds like hate to those who hate the truth. All right? Can I get a man?
Donald Trump was completely passed out at his rally in Nevada tonight, as the Nodfather did not look good at all. Now, if you missed it tonight, Donald Trump held a rally in Nevada where he went to celebrate his no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. And while the content of the rally was pretty standard, the setup was not at all. First, he was sitting down, not standing up. Second, he was slurring his words horribly. He struggled to start a sentence, let alone finish it. He could not collect his thoughts. And when he passed the mic to other people, this happened. Don Snorleone in full effect right there. He was out like a light. He looked absolutely awful. And this is continuing a trend of Donald Trump not looking in tip-top shape and the White House not saying a word about it. Remember, we had to find out about the ankles because a photographer caught him. We found out about the hand the same way. The White House hasn't been transparent about Donald Trump. They've just gotten revealed. But tonight, Donald Trump looked and sounded rough.
We'll play the clip.
Ever make a difference for somebody like Travis? Regeneron is a great example of both the difficulty of the challenge, but also of the potential reward. We spent 25 years 25 years and billions of dollars.
The man is sleeping. And you can see RFK Jr. and Howard Lutnick, who just wrapped up a real nice time in Congress, of course, not talking about Epstein because he refused, but you can see them like standing scared as shit that their boss will probably yell at them after this because they didn't wake them up. And it kind of reminds me of Pete Hegseth earlier this month at a cabinet meeting in which he just kept like trying to nudge Trump and say stuff to Trump and talk to Trump and say president and Trump and Donald because he knows those words like a dog. Like when you say walk to your dog, it's like, "Arr," and like the tail starts wagging. When you say Trump's name, then he'll start paying attention. But they're trying to wake him up. He's clearly out of it. He's REM sleep. He's deep into it. And they're scared. And they know that he's sundowning. And honestly, I don't say this like from a place that you should have sympathy for him, but like they are taking advantage of Donald Trump. And I think there is no person taking advantage of Donald Trump and his clear cognitive decline, maybe more than Pete Hegseth. I kind of want to get into a conspiracy that I have about Pete that's really not that much of a conspiracy, but it all starts with Donald Trump's big firing yesterday, his Navy secretary, and what he had to say.
Wait. They really looked America in the face and said Donald Trump is unshakable. Honey, I have receipts. Pete Hegseth stood at that podium this morning, chest out, voice booming, and said, with his whole entire chest, that President Trump's fortitude is unshakable. Unshakable. The same man who literally 12 hours earlier was sitting in the Oval Office fighting his eyelids. Not fighting Iran, not fighting inflation, fighting his eyelids. He was nodding off like my uncle at Thanksgiving after 2 plates and a glass of sweet tea, except my uncle doesn't have the nuclear codes, so the stakes are a little different, baby. And look, I don't even want to be mean about it. I genuinely don't. But you brought up fortitude. You said unshakable. So now we got to talk about it. Because this is the same man who sends a 4-7 paragraph Truth Social post because a reporter looked at him sideways. That's not fortitude, honey. That's a fragile ego with a Wi-Fi connection. Now let's talk about this war because that's where it really falls apart. Trump gave a 4 to 6 week timeline to wrap up this Iran situation. We are about to hit week 8. And what do we have to show for it? Pete Hegseth doing military slam poetry at a press conference like he's auditioning for a Fast and Furious reboot. Locked and loaded. God bless our warriors. The blockade is tightening by the hour. Sir, Iran is still seizing ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, as we speak, after Trump announced the strait was open for business. So either he was lying then or he's lying now. Pick one. You don't get both. And here's what they're not telling you because omission is a form of lying. Let me be clear. Iran still has their IRGC Navy, the suicide drones, the mines, the speedboats. They destroyed Iran's conventional Navy and called it a victory. That's like me taking away your fork and saying I ended your hunger problem while you're over there eating with a spoon. Then Trump has the audacity to compare this to Vietnam voluntarily. Nobody made him say Vietnam. He said it himself in the middle of a conflict he can't find an exit for. Baby, you don't invoke Vietnam when you're in Vietnam. And the negotiating table? J.D. Vance was supposed to fly to Pakistan on Tuesday for talks. Iran said, and I need you to really hear this, Iran said, we don't even have a reason to sit down with you. That's not winning. That's not fortitude. That's a country that doesn't fear you enough to show up. So the strategy to reopen the Strait of Hormuz is to close the Strait of Hormuz ourselves. That's the plan. That's like calling the fire department and they burn your house down to prove arson is wrong. If you are a critical thinker, if you ask questions, connect dots, and demand real answers from people in power, then this should bother you deeply. Because the Bush administration lied about weapons of mass destruction, held press conferences just like this one, and we spent 2 decades cleaning that up. History is a mirror, y'all. And right now it's staring us dead in the face. Drop a comment, share this, and stay woke, especially when they're out here trying to put us to sleep.
So Donald Trump held another press conference this week, which is always exciting because with Trump, every public appearance feels like opening a mystery box that may or may not contain foreign policy, a fast food wrapper, or a complete collapse of human consciousness. And this one had everything. The usual rambling, the aggressive hand gestures, the sentence structure of a man assembling IKEA furniture during an earthquake. But then something magical happened. He appeared to fall asleep. Actually asleep, right there, at his own press conference, in front of cameras, in front of reporters, in front of a nation already struggling to stay awake during his answers. And honestly, it was difficult to tell at first, because Trump's speaking style already sounds like someone drifting in and out of a medically induced coma. We're doing tremendous things, many people are saying. The best things, sleepy, very sleepy. At one point, his eyes closed for so long that even the Secret Service probably checked whether they needed to reboot him. You could almost hear the window shutdown noise. This is a man who once mocked others for lacking stamina. Sir, you just entered low power mode while discussing tariffs. Your body literally activated battery saver. And let's be fair, press conferences can be exhausting, especially when you've spent the previous hour explaining why a trade war is actually a love letter written in tariffs. But still, presidents are generally expected to remain conscious during official government business. That is an extraordinarily low bar. It is beneath the bar. It is somewhere near the Earth's molten core. The White House will undoubtedly insist he was not sleeping. They'll say he was reflecting deeply, which is technically true, if by reflecting deeply you mean briefly visiting an REM cycle. Some presidents have fireside chats. Trump apparently prefers napside chats. And look, age catches up with everyone. But usually not live on national television while you're answering questions about the economy. America doesn't need a commander-in-chief. It needs a gentle wake-up alarm and perhaps a juice box.
Donald Trump, for literally 20 minutes, was in the Oval Office. This was the same event where someone passed out. Remember where somebody passed out and he like jumped up, got back like, oh, let me get out the way. Not trying to help the person. He was sitting over. If Joe Biden was sleeping in the Oval Office with the press in the room, we would have never heard the end of it. I don't understand why somebody doesn't ask the president, sir, is your IV drip that allegedly you're getting making you tired? And I'm only asking because I got the bandages on the hands. What is going on? Why is the president so tired?
Donald Trump's weekend has already been ruined as he passed out during a press conference and the media is actually reporting on it. Now, if you missed it yesterday, Donald Trump held a press conference on Trump RX, during which he was constantly falling asleep. It seemed at times he was going through REM cycles. Take a look at this. This is how bad it was. Full-on Don Snorleone. The Nodfather strikes again. Donald Trump was out like a light. And this has happened frequently, but the media doesn't really pick up on it. But today, The Hill, CNN, NBC, and others are now talking about it, and images of him passing out are floating around. Now, if you remember during President Biden's term, if he did anything that resembled an old man, the media would cover it for days. Donald Trump has gotten a pass, but it seems like that pass is coming to an end. And this is going to be a story between his ankles, his hand, his inability to stay awake. People are going to start questioning his age, and you can bet Donald Trump is going to see it and have the weekend he deserves.
We all know that he doesn't sleep. You know, I'm not a big sleeper either. So, you know, on occasion, I close my eyes if someone's talking for too long, I admit it. But big deal. I mean, the results speak for themselves. What President Trump does on a daily basis. If you sleep 3 hours or 4 hours a night, you're probably going to close your eyes, whether you're 79 or 49. I don't think that matters.
Yeah, President Trump, Thomas Edison believed in the 10-minute nap, by the way. What would they say? We wouldn't have electricity, right?
Donald Trump has been caught again sleeping at an official public event. New video shows Donald Trump at the inaugural Board of Peace meeting, sitting with his eyes closed, head slumped, clearly struggling to stay awake during a meeting where supposedly it was the most exciting thing about how they were going to have peace and get peace and the entire thing. Trump couldn't even be bothered to stay awake. It wasn't late at night. It was like 10 a.m. It wasn't a private moment. Public event, cameras rolling. Trump simply can't stay awake. If this feels familiar, it's because it's happening all the time.
And the successful implementation of the second phase of the Gaza peace plan. This includes ensuring...
Whoa, and Trump almost actually falling. I'll play that last bit here. You see that Trump actually does a whoa and then catches himself. We have seen this time and time and time again. Trump can't stay awake during meetings. He just can't do it. And what makes this...
Let me ask you something real simple. When is the last time the most powerful person on the planet fell asleep on camera during his own press conference? Not once, not twice, multiple times. Because that is what is happening right now in the Oval Office. Donald Trump held a press conference this week, supposedly about lowering prescription drug prices that, by the way, are higher than they have ever been. And what did the man do? He fell asleep, woke up disoriented, fell back asleep. And when the cameras cut, the first words out of his mouth were about needing to use the bathroom. That is on audio. That is documented. That is your president. And here's what makes it worse. This is a pattern. Cabinet meetings, press conferences, his own criminal trial where Maggie Haberman was reporting he kept nodding off. People in that courtroom on record saying they could not be around him. This is not a new story. This is a escalating story. Now let's talk about disinhibition, because that word matters. Disinhibition is what doctors observe in patients with dementia. Alzheimer's. It shows up as lashing out, unfiltered outbursts, saying things with zero impulse control. So when a reporter asked Trump a completely fair question, how much longer will this war go on? And Trump screamed, "You're a disgrace," instead of answering. That is not strength. That is a symptom. And the lies. Lord, the lies. Trump stood at a podium and told the American people he personally saved 8 young women from execution in Iran, called them beautiful young girls, said he called the Iranian government and they did him a favor. None of it happened the way he described. Not one verifiable piece. But he said it with full confidence, eyes wide open, which, given everything else we've seen this week, might actually be the scariest part. Meanwhile, Biden, 82 years old, stage 4 cancer, lifelong stutter. And this week he sat for an interview and gave a clear, coherent, structured answer about the Constitution and American democracy. You want to compare cognitive decline? Go ahead, compare it. Trump's last physical was October 2025. The annual one was due this month. He hasn't announced it. He's not scheduling it. He's hiding it. So I'll leave you with this. The man who controls the nuclear codes, the military, and your health care is falling asleep in the middle of his own sentences. And his administration is out here trying to convince you that 600% is a legitimate math calculation. America, what are we doing?
The story particularly striking is that he led the movement to attack Joe Biden for having no energy, calling him Sleepy Joe. That was the branding, the narrative, endless mockery and endless attacks about energy and stamina and alertness, cognitive fitness. They built an entire messaging machine around Biden's too tired and weak and diminished. But now we have the oldest president in history, Trump, unable to stay awake almost every week. And the right-wing media is silent about it. He closes his eyes to rest them, is all you will occasionally get. He's listening. No outrage, no wall-to-wall coverage from right-wing media, no viral concerns about fitness for office, no questions about stamina, no nightly monologues on Fox News about cognitive decline. Their standards disappear. And this gets to something way bigger than just Trump falling asleep again. His entire political identity has always been built on projecting strength, dominance, and endless energy. I'd only sleep 4 hours a night and all this stuff. I never falter. But the reality is clashing with that alpha branding. And voters can see this guy doesn't have unstoppable energy. He's exhausted, disengaged, can often barely speak, and falls asleep in public all the time. Now, aging is normal. Health challenges are human. That is not the issue. The issue is honesty and consistency. If staying awake at public events were treated as proof of fitness or lack thereof for office for Joe Biden, why is it suddenly irrelevant when it applies to a different president?
So this is where we are right now, and I'm going to try not to laugh, but yesterday during an Oval Office event that was supposed to be about lowering prescription drug prices, which is BS anyway, but Donald Trump appeared to fall asleep while people are speaking. It's not new. He does it all the time. But then when the feed cuts out, there's an audio circulating where he appears to say, "I could use this shit." Not, here's my thoughts on the policy. Not, here's how this helps Americans, not here's what we're doing about the crisis with Iran. None of that. None of that. I could use a shit. And I'm sorry, but I don't think that's normal. This is not just some funny little viral moment. This is the President of the United States sitting in the Oval Office during a serious policy event while the country is dealing with a high-stakes situation involving Iran. And he looks disengaged, checked out, and then we get this on the microphone. At some point, we have to stop pretending this is strength. Because leadership is not just yelling online. It's not posting threats. It's not pretending every disaster is victory. We're winning bigly, winning bigly. Leadership is presence, it's focus, it's awareness, it's capacity. And right now, what we're seeing is a man who cannot stay fully present in the room while the world is watching. That is the story. That's not a joke, not a meme, in my opinion. That is a capacity question that's very serious. Because if this were Biden, we would have heard, ooh, Sleepy Joe, whatever. It would be the end of it. But when it's Trump, everyone is supposed to pretend this is normal because, oh, well, it's Trump. Oh, well, this is not normal. And in a moment involving Iran, military pressure, global markets, and real consequences for the whole world, this is actually pretty dangerous, you guys. This is dangerous.
All right, so this big MAGA account is trying to claim the Democrats are lying about the fact that Donald Trump fell asleep during his cabinet meeting today. He says Democrats continue to lie that President Trump was asleep during his cabinet meeting today. This is good. When Democrats have resorted to such blatant lies, it's when you know they're desperate. They have no positive policies, just hoaxes and gaslighting. However, there's a video going around right here. He actually posted the video himself where Donald Trump is sitting perfectly still with his eyes closed, head tilted down, while Marco Rubio is speaking right beside of him.
But he's the only leader in the world that can help end it. And that's why even as we speak to you now, Steve Woodcock is in Moscow trying to find a way to end this war, to save lives.
The problem with this argument is very simple. There is footage and pictures that contradict everything he's claiming. In the video, as you could see, Trump wasn't blinking, talking, shifting around, or taking notes. His head is down, his eyes are closed, and he's staying motionless for several seconds straight. He wasn't resting his eyes or meditating or whatever else they're going to try to claim. He was clearly asleep during a cabinet meeting. But he's 80 years old and in terrible shape, so what can you honestly expect? The real problem here is the reaction from his supporters. Instead of acknowledging what's clearly on video, they're immediately jumping to calling everyone else liars, desperate, or part of some sort of conspiracy.
Best positioned to create the cures for tomorrow. Second, we continue our work on negotiating international trade agreements. 59 days after we stood in this office and President Trump, standing with Albert Bourla from Pfizer, announced the first of the 17 MFN deals, together with our colleagues from the Department of Commerce under Secretary Lutnick's leadership and from the U.S. Trade Rep.
Tell me what you think down in the comment. Do you think Donald will keep behaving like this and shaming us on the global world?
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.